The brain-friendly reading program is really focused on this piece at the bottom, the blue part of the rope. That all of these different pieces together that you see, all of these different strands, need to be addressed and integrated or woven together to produce a child who is a skilled reader. So we think of wanting children to be fluent, that word gets used a lot, and to be a fluent reader who can comprehend what it is they're reading. But guess what, guys? That's way over here on the right-hand side, the skilled reading. When we have a child who's not fluent and who has poor comprehension, the first place we want to go back to, the blue pieces. Let's address the decoding, which is that sound symbol connection, the phonological awareness, which means all things related to hearing the sounds in the language. Now, we address that very simply with arm spelling. The arm spelling work we do builds that phonemic awareness. There are many programs out there that address phonemic awareness. You don't need another program to address phonemic awareness. What you need is to use the tool of arm spelling in the variety of ways that we're going to show you how to use arm spelling for most children. And then the sight recognition piece is being able to see words and read them automatically, which is that orthographic mapping part, where we're mapping the sounds and onto the letters, or the letters onto the sounds. But really, I like the word marrying. Like we're bringing those sounds down the aisle, and then they're like, here's letters that go with them, with those sounds. And the brain goes, oh, I know cat. And now I can see the sequence of letters that go with, that are married to the sounds. And when the brain maps that or combines those two pieces together, it gets stored in long-term memory, and you have what's called a sight word. The red pieces of this rope, which is called Scarborough's rope, and this is the one I chose because I just liked how they did it. But it's a researcher came up with this way of thinking about what it takes to the many different strands that have to be woven together in order for skilled reading to happen. That the top part, that's the red pieces, not all of those are addressed in the brain-friendly reading program, but many of them are. And many of the many that are ones that help move children up that ladder of reading to get to about a fourth grade level of reading and to be a competent, skilled reader and writer at about that level. We're going to address things like language structure, syntax, and semantics. We're looking at print concepts. We're looking at the pieces of language that have to do with reading with inflection, of end punctuation. What are quotation marks? How does that impact what we're reading? So the pieces that, and then we're looking at how words make phrases and phrases make sentences and sentences together combine into being paragraphs, and we tell stories with that piece. So some of that comes as extensions to our work. It's not directly contained in our curriculum, but when children aren't reading with skill, coming back to the brain-friendly reading approach and doing all of those pieces allows the children to be able to access the curriculum, the other curriculums that you have that you're being required to use in schools. Or if you're tutoring, it allows the children to be able to access the instruction they're getting in the classroom. Okay, so this is Scarborough's rope. If you haven't ever seen this before, this is a great way for you to begin to think about all the different pieces that make a child a skilled reader, and know that the brain-friendly reading approach addresses all the parts that are in the blue and a good chunk of what's in the red, and that there's more there in the red bits also. All right, so how are we going to address all of the parts that are in the blue? We're going to use our basic instructional outline as the tree trunk of instruction that is going to give us the core foundational skills that when used together, right? Like we're looking for the synergistic effect of using these certain skills together in a combined way that we get the best results for the children. So Chart tapping, first and foremost. Sound dictation is very helpful. I do sound dictation in small group and individually a lot. And when we go to whole group, we're going to talk about how sound dictation can be used and how to accomplish that when you're working with a larger group and perhaps dictating is not as easy because there's background noise. You can do reviews with children. Reaching back and touching skills that they've already done before is very important. These children often children who aren't learning how to read words in 1, 2, 3, 4 touches need to go back and revisit concepts many, many times. So that review work is going to be born out of the things that you learn how to do in the new lesson. So as part of our new lesson, we're going to use that infographic, that colorful infographic to touch on those pieces. And we're going to make sure that we include game playing. Game playing is not extra. It's not, if we get to it, it's not a reward. Game playing is essential to the brain-friendly reading program. Game playing is one of the pieces that moves children up the ladder of reading easily and effortlessly. And then there's other pieces that you can teach. You can teach the puzzle words that are included on the lesson pages if your children don't already know those. You can include additional focus on handwriting for children who need that, or if you're teaching kindergarten, first grade, you might have a curriculum, another handwriting curriculum. And then, of course, when children are ready to read sentences out of books, having children read books is perfectly acceptable. It's just that reading books is not the starting point of instruction. It's not the primary instructional strategy, that reading it once at school, reading it at home, coming back and reading it at school again, using leveled readers that don't follow any of the science about how children learn how to read. That's not going to work. So I often don't include oral reading in any of the lessons I do because I'm too busy doing review work and new lesson work.